My name is Richard Okenya. So I think I'll begin introduction with myself. My name is Richard Okenya. I am currently in Kenya as of the moment, calling from Nairobi, Kenya, which is the capital of the country, in East Africa, in Africa. And I am a TV presenter with a national television channel here called KUTV. And what I do there is a TV segment in the morning every single Tuesday on business and entrepreneurship, especially startups. And having been already someone who's been involved in the startup space by my own startup, which I co-founded way back in 2015, and then eventually was able to immerse myself fully into this space and get to discuss with other entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, and the kind of challenges and what they're doing in their markets, of course, especially in Nairobi, Kenya. So two of the ones who are here tonight are also from Nairobi, Kenya, and two are from Haiti. So we're going to get a chance to hear from Lamia, Woodme, Jolene, and Ken Ruto, who are here on the call with us from their respective markets. So this is Catalysing Change Week 2022. And the theme for this year is re-energizing SDGs. And this session, which is Youth Social Innovation in Emerging Markets, we're going to look at a case study from Kenya and Haiti. So two of the four who are here tonight, entrepreneurs, two are from Kenya and two of them are from Haiti. Particularly, specifically, that is Jolene Opula, Ken Ruto, and they're going to get a chance to introduce themselves. Each Lamia and Woodme are from Haiti, and they're going to also introduce themselves and tell us what kind of ventures they've been able to do at a young age, something that most of them have started. All of us, including myself, and the four of them are under 26 years of age, most already having started these ventures way back in high school, others in college as well. So we're going to sort of understand how they've been able to amass all the resources around them in these emerging markets and create these ventures to whatever level of success they've been able to achieve. So at this point, I'll allow them to begin a little introduction to themselves before we can dive in to the full session. So welcome and thank you very much for creating time, everyone, for all the participants who are already here. It is a pleasure to have you here. And I think we can begin with Kenya, so which is my homeland. So I'll just start from there. I'll allow Jolene to go first, and please introduce yourself and your venture as well.
Hello, I hope you can hear me well. My name is Jolene. I am originally from Kenya, although right now I am in college at Swarthmore in Pennsylvania. And I started an organization called Renovates, where we connect entrepreneurs with virtual assistants. And we also provide training for the youth to be able to learn digital skills. And after they go through the training and they learn the digital skills, that's when we connect them with entrepreneurs who are looking for remote assistance. And the goal was just to provide a means for the youth to be able to earn income, especially during the pandemic when a lot of people lost their jobs and a lot of people were working remotely. We took that as a chance to be able to train people the skills that they could use to earn money during that time, and also to support entrepreneurs who are struggling during that time to get people to work with them. So I'm excited to be here and I look forward to the discussion that we're going to have today.
All right. Thank you very much, Jolene. I think next up is Ken Ruto. So Ken, you can also join up and tell us about Flax Water, the amazing innovation by yourself, which is something that you also started in college. Let me not preempt. Ken, it's your time now.
Thank you, Richard. Hello, everyone. My name is Ken Ruto. I am currently in Haverford, Philadelphia. So I go to Haverford College. I just finished my senior week. I'm going to graduate on Saturday. So I'm very excited about that. So I started Flux Water in college at Haverford after taking a design thinking class. And part of the reason was I came to the US for the very first time. I left Kenya for the very first time to come to college. And I could say I saw what real, actual systems are supposed to work. And so specifically, Flux Water is a social tech enterprise that is based in Nairobi that builds software and data analytic tools specifically aimed and contextualized to serve water utilities in emerging markets. Why? Because utilities in emerging markets have been honestly neglected from a technological standpoint, where they struggle so much with infrastructural challenges, where most of their infrastructure is very old and is based on pre-digital technology, and all of it is paper-based. So what that means is their water utilities lose more than 55% of all the water that they release. And as a result, my family and I growing up, we would get less than 10 hours of water supply in a week at best. And so what Flux Water does is we help utilities digitize, visualize, and optimize water distribution, one utility and a community at a time. So we started this in Nairobi, and yeah, so thank you so much. And I'm really excited to be here. And yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ken. Since I'm also from Kenya, I think I can transition this to the Haiti side by explaining also what my ventures have been about. Initially, I was a co-founder and also part of an amazing team called MedBit. So MedBit Kenya is a startup that seeks to solve the booking problem that is in the healthcare space between doctors and patients. So as some of us might know, or most of us might, is that the World Health Organization does classify the patient to doctor ratio that is recommended in the nation. So in Kenya, particularly find that we have a population of 50 million and doctors who are about 10,000 or so. So, and this have to split their time between the serving the public and also running their own private spaces. So it becomes a bit difficult to get a specialist or to even know what times to get these doctors or where to get them. So what MedBit basically was about is creating a platform where we provide a booking management system where patients can see on real time where these doctors are, what kind of specializations they have been doing, where they are at the moment. So they fill in their schedule, and it's a two-way front-facing solution where doctors fill in their schedule and patients get to book this. And once they book that, the slot is blocked out. So if you're trying to get a doctor on real time, you can be able to see where they are, where they're booked or not, and just do a walk-in. So from then on, as I had introduced myself earlier, moved on to TV, where I've been doing a startup segment on morning television, Tuesday morning, in a television channel called KUTV, right here in Nairobi, Kenya. And it's a space where I get to speak to young people, like the ones you're going to hear from tonight, in the various ventures, the challenges, the opportunities that are in this ecosystem, the emerging markets, which is also a case study for tonight's session. And I'm saying tonight because it is currently 7:20 in Kenya. So if it's daytime still, do not fret. Yeah, so that is what I've been doing. And I'm also a tech writer for We Media Africa, which is one of the biggest media brands in Africa for technology, news, business, and entrepreneurship, and also the Internet of Things. So having said that, I'll allow the other two from Haiti to introduce themselves. That is Lamia and Woodme, and then we can kickstart this session. So Lamia, you can go first.
Yeah, so my name is Lamia. I'm not actually from Haiti, I'm from Egypt, but in a very long story short, have been working in Haiti for about 10 years now. And in a very random turn of events are also going to be working in Kenya as well. So I feel like I'm at the cross section of this panel for youth social innovation. So my work in Haiti for the last 10 years has mostly been centered around education. So I started 10 years ago an education nonprofit that worked together with a rural community to co-create the first school in that community. And it's also the first community-owned school in the entire region. So it was all about how we're shifting the model of social aid to getting people to start their ventures themselves. And that kind of led me to a few other ventures that I've been working on over the last 10 years as well, that are all focused on working with young people in Haiti to help them start their own companies that address social issues, and getting them to be at the center of the social impact that they're trying to make in their communities. So I'll leave it there for now, since it's kind of scattered around a few different ventures, but largely that's been the focus of my work, and I'm really looking forward to tonight's conversation.
All right, thank you, Lamia, and hi everyone. I'm very, very happy. If you know, like before the meeting, how we were excited that you guys can come up in there. So my name is Woodney Jean-Baptiste. I'm from Haiti, and I'm living in Haiti. So I'm the founder of Zero Loss Consulting. Also, I have other ventures, but I started really, really young in this entrepreneurship journey, and I'm very happy that now I can share my experience. So Zero Loss Consulting is a firm of consultation working to improve companies here in Haiti. So everything related to marketing and specifically finance and also engineering consulting. We're really helping the company to produce more with less. So I started this 1 year ago, and I think you will discover more about what we're doing and how our work is helping people here in Haiti. So I'm looking forward to have this conversation.
All right, thank you, Lamia and Woodme. Yeah, quite interesting introductions, of course. And the most, I think the most common thing around or between all of, among all of the five of us is that we are all young and also started young. So I don't know if I'm going to say we started young or are still young, since we aren't old yet. So we just started. I think that'll be a good way to put it. So we just started, and I think it's important now we get to understand why we have started at such a young age. I'll get it back to Jolene from Renovate, as you can see displayed next to her. So Jolene, at such a young age, why have you started? And why did you start when you did, knowing that entrepreneurship is a really grueling journey? It's difficult, it is tiresome, creating pitch decks, midnight, and all of that, sending links out to people, doing surveys, knowing all of that is the process of entrepreneurship, especially from the market that you're from. Why did you begin?
Thank you, Richard. So if I'm being honest, I did not know how hard it was going to be. If I knew, probably I wouldn't have started. But now that I am right here, I am happy that I did start because once you get there and you get to go through all the hardships, especially when you're working in emerging markets, that there are very many challenges. So once you get there, sometimes you just want to give up because it's really hard. But when I was starting, and our advisor, Jennifer, is right here. So I got into a program in school called Lang Opportunity Scholarship Program, where they select 6 people from the sophomore class, the second year class, people who are interested in pursuing issues of social justice and just community, helping their communities. So I got into that program with Lamia, who's right here. And through the program, we were able to learn different ways of serving our communities and just being able to work with them and help them in different projects. And I thought that I'll work on a project that will last over the summer, and then that would be it. But as I got into the working with the community and talking to them, I realized that I could work on something that could be more long lasting. And I talked to the people, there are a lot of needs in the community. And I felt like I had the opportunity, since I had the resources provided by this program that I was part of this program, I felt like I could use that opportunity to create something that would be long lasting. And that was the start of Renovate. So it did not start as what we currently have. We tried out different things. And I believe a lot of people usually, you have something in mind and then you go out there and then you test it and then it doesn't work and then you try something else. So I went through a process of trying different things. I remember some of the things that we started with was a library project, and we also started like a construction and carpentry skills project before the pandemic happened, and we needed to have something that could be done entirely remotely. And that's when the idea of Renovate came in, and it was just from a random conversation with an entrepreneur who was trying to fill some vacancies at his company, and he was looking for remote people to help him out. And I was in contact with some of the youth from Kenya who had gone through some of the digital skills training and some of the programs that we'd done in the past. And that's when I saw the connection that this entrepreneur is looking for people who would help them remotely. And we have some youth who are looking for job opportunities. And that's when I figured out, asking the entrepreneur, what kind of skills do you need? What do you think would be necessary? And then we taught the youth those skills, and then we were able to connect the two. So it wasn't like I knew what I was going to do from the beginning. It was more of just learning from the process and being able to talk to people and take the opportunities as they come. And throughout the process, it's been really, we've learned a lot, and I keep on learning every single day. So it's more of just every single day you keep learning new things, and you're able to figure out what more can I do to support the community. So that's how I got into this space.
All right. Okay. So I think since this is going to be a conversation that I want all of us to be involved in, including the participants who are here, I'll have all of the four of the entrepreneurs who are sharing their journeys with us to have themselves unmuted, so that we can bounce this off each other. And also for the participants, if you have any question that you want to ask mid presentation, you can just type it out on the chat, and then we can answer it on the spot as we sort of go along in this dinner conversation that we are having. So Jolene has just shared her experience, of course, and also why she kept going, learning through the process. I don't know if that's the same for you, Ken, Lamia, with me, anyone who might want to jump in and contribute to the precedence that has been set there.
I like what Jolene just said about testing things, because we call ourselves entrepreneurs, or they call us entrepreneurs, but I always say that we are doers, or we're problem solvers. And as problem solver, you're not picking everything, but at the same time, when you see something and you feel like you have the capacity to start doing something for it, and then you're just the one not being afraid and to start it. But at the same time, doesn't mean that it will be successful. That's also the part of the process, to understand that you can start and not being successful in something, and not being demotivated because of the way it's happening. In Haiti, for instance, we don't have the culture of creating, or the culture of starting something new. And even I remember I started this organization to support young people like me coming out from school when I was 19 years old, with Tema Jadler, who is on the call as well. And when we started this, we wanted to share how people in Haiti how can we be successful? Like, there's people in Haiti being successful. How can somebody just coming out from school can learn from them, and to also have their pathway to success? And this was not something that our parents saw, that was it was really new for them. And then I remember like fighting a lot with my mom to let me work besides school, and I had to show her results, because if you don't show her, like, I have to pick my mom literally coming into a conference or an event that we're doing, and she would be there standing and looking like, is it something like valuable? And then she will see that maybe people are paying to enter the room, and then she's like, okay, maybe you're really doing something. So it's not easy entrepreneurship for young people from school. And when I came, I started also with Heineken. I worked for Heineken for 5 years after that. And that part of the journey was the tough one, working for a company and managing to work in a company, and also to still creating. Entrepreneurs, we're not singers, we're not dancers, we're not like, we don't have the other type of thing that people have as talents and make a living from them. And for me it's really it's really something that when you have inside of you working for another enterprise or doing something else, at some point you will feel the energy to keep going. To have that energy, you need to keep creating. If you don't create, you will feel sometimes your energy will be completely down and you won't feel like motivated to even keep doing the job that's paying you. So that part of the journey also is something that I really want to share, and I think that's valuable lesson also for everyone.
Yeah.
Great.
And thank you so much, Woodby. And if I could jump in, for me it was yes, just to go off of problem solving. This was a very personal problem for me. You know, coming to Haverford College for the first time, I remember turning on the shower and never having to, you know, taking 30-minute showers, because I now no longer have to worry about bucket ratios, because this is something that if you ever come to Kenya, regardless of where you are, everyone has everyone has this yellow containers where you have like 10, 20, because you never know when water is going to come. It's like, it's a wild card. It can come at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday, or maybe at 10 p.m. on Sunday. So you never know. So so I come here, and for the first time, you turn on a tap and you don't have to, you don't worry about, okay, I'm never going to have water, right? And then I go back home and you have to kind of relearn, you know, there's a system of taking a full bath with just one bucket, just 20 gallons, I think, you know, so then the question became, so why is water not universally accessible? You know, the same way it is an afterthought in most developed or countries, or in the global north, like it should be, right? And the answer really became, okay, so it's not that we don't have water, it's just that it does not get to us, right? Half of it gets lost either through leaks, through theft. There are literal people that sometimes sabotage water lines so that, you know, they hyperinflate the cost of buying this water. And if you are ever still in Nairobi, you'll see a lot of water trucks. And so it's big business where these utilities are struggling, but then they have zero visibility, right? And so that just became a no-brainer. And then on the flip side, you know, taking computer science and technology, there was this push towards, okay, the best thing you could do as a software engineer is go work in big tech at Facebook. But then for me, I felt like it does not make sense that we are, you know, sending cars to the moon, you know, or, you know, satellites all the time. We can order food on your phone and you'll get it in like 5 minutes, and I cannot get water, you know? And so that was very personal for me. And that's why we started Flux, and thankfully my co-founder is here as well. So yeah.
Okay, shout out to your co-founder. Who's your co-founder?
I think I kind of saw him. Dennis is here. Please say hi.
Welcome, Dennis.
Okay.
I think something that all three of us are saying, which is like resonating with the idea of like not setting out as a young person with the intention of like, I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to go like start a business. We kind of all fell through this path of putting ourselves in a certain situation where we were listening to people and being exposed to a problem. And in being exposed to that problem as doers, as when you put it, like as doers, we then got activated to then do something about it without necessarily thinking that we're going to start a company, right? Like Jolene was talking about, she's going to start a summer project. Woodme was saying that he was starting something just for his friends coming out of college. Same with Ken there. So I think it was also like, we all had this experience, and this was my case as well, of like, I'm just going to start this project because there's an issue at hand that's very personal to me, and I feel like I can do something about it. And then long story short, that turned into an enterprise, that turned into a company. I know for myself, it wasn't until 6 years in to starting my first organization that somebody referred to me as a social entrepreneur for the first time at a pitch competition, actually in Haiti. Somebody referred to me as a social entrepreneur, and I turned around and was like, me, an entrepreneur? So it really took me 6 years of actually running an organization before I had even like fathomed the idea that I might fall within this category of social entrepreneurship. So I think that's really interesting, as well as kind of this idea that we're all just putting ourselves out there and working on a problem that was really personal to us. And it ended us up in a situation where we started a company or started an organization or started something of that sort. But I also love what Woodme was saying about, like, in a sense, you almost have to prove yourself extra, because doing these things that we care about and they're solving problems for other people, is kind of against what society is telling us we're supposed to do. So I think we all had this issue with our moms of like, no, don't focus, don't work on that, like focus on your studies, focus on high school, focus on college, or whatever it is, like focus on getting into college, whatever it was. So I think there's also this extra point of like having to prove to other people that what we're doing is actually serious and that it is something that matters to us. So in a sense, there's like extra barriers, I think, when starting so young, because you're not only having to convince yourself and the people that you're working with, but you're also having to convince like your teachers, your parents, your siblings, your friends at school, that what you're doing is worthy and like worthy of your time as well. So I think that that's interesting in all of our journeys too.
Yeah. Right. So I know the main theme that I've seen across the conversations is that your parents were a really big deal in this journey. Focus in school. Just maybe to chime in on that particular part, is that I remember some time back when I was in college in my second year, and I got the chance to go to Viva Tech. I don't know if anyone else on the chat or on this call is aware of Viva Tech, which is a tech startup slash investors conference that happens in Paris every once a year around June. So I think it's happening next week. So I got the chance to fly over from Kenya to France to present my project at the time. Young startup, I have 1.5 years old at the time. And so I speak to my dad because at this moment we're bootstrapping, we're young, we don't have money, we're just sort of saving from a little money here and there, starving ourselves here and there. Sorry, I'm just maybe skipping a meal, not starving. But just not enough cash to go around and buy a ticket to France, really, a round ticket for that matter. So I get a ticket one way and ask my dad to give me money for the other way around. So, and he says, is this thing assured? Are you assured of an outcome? You want to fly out and then don't get any investment? I don't think that's gonna work. So he tells me how he's been attending a lot of meetings as well, and it knows necessarily that this is going to be the defining moment of my startup. For me at that moment, everything is an opportunity for me. Meeting 5 people who know anything to do with entrepreneurship, or meeting just one person who's tried this, that's an opportunity for me. So it doesn't matter if they're going to fund me or going to give me anything else. So at that age, I think also trying to put your perspective to the perspective of, or aligning it to the perspective of those who are your guardians or around you or taking care of you sort of becomes a challenge. However, now let's transition from childhood to you now as an entrepreneur, because you're not a child to your startup, you're the leader in your startup or your venture. You've thought about this, but you're in a market that's emerging, as is the title of this session, youth innovation in emerging markets. And what are then the unique challenges you will say are specific to the market that you've been, and how have you well, compared to the rest of the world? Let's begin maybe from there. Compared to the rest of the world, how unique are the challenges in Kenya? Starting flax water, what sort of bottlenecks have you had to go through? Maybe WoodMe. And so tell us how this is different in the emerging market, so that we get to have a sense of, with these challenges, the way you've been able to navigate and get resources towards your venture, because those challenges also define how you think of direction and come up with solutions. So anyone who wants to go first, just highlight what those challenges look like.
I think the one of the challenges I would say was more like how to make this sustainable, because when you're starting something like with passion, with your heart, you're really motivated about it, but at some point the money that you have in your account and then you're investing, then that money needs to come back and it needs to be sustainable. So that part for me was a bit difficult, but at the same time, I think by knowing everywhere you are, like everywhere you are in the world, you're in this place for a reason. And then I started zero loss consulting while working on a side project, which was my personal project in Heineken to remove plastic in the country. So the project was, how can we reduce the plastic footprint for Heineken in Haiti? But before that, that was my personal project because I was tired of seeing bottles on the streets. And I don't know if you guys maybe saw pictures or videos of how plastic can be can be effective for families. Like, because of plastic, water don't come in the sewer, and then those water come in people's house. So I was really tired of this, and I was trying to see how can we do this, and I started to see um, a bunch of plastic everywhere, and I even started to walk around, go in the mountain, and to check what is there and how can we reduce this. And then I started to write this project, so to use the plastic to make flakes, and then after the flakes to make fiber. So I started this, and then at some point I had to stop it because I didn't have the money for it. But the first thing I did was write it down, and then started to look for firm or support from other people. After after 4 years, I went to Heineken, and I became the pillar leader, the environmental pillar leader for Heineken in Haiti. And Heineken told me, because of 2030 project, they need to have a sustainable project to work with, and then to align with the company mission and vision. But they need a project, please, so they can work with to reduce their footprint. And then I was like, what happened? Because I think I had this before, and then I checked my mail. I even asked my friend to send me, because I was also working with this with my friend Telemark, and then he sent it to me, and then I fine tuned it with the company mission and vision, and then from there I started with this project. And actually, while I'm talking to you, we are removing around 3 million pounds of plastic every per year. 3 million pounds of plastic per year, just because I had a project 4 years ago. So that part, and then after, like, when you do something like this in your country, you're not afraid of anything. Like, you know that you can do things. So, and then while I was working in that project, I started to visit, because you might wonder how we make this. It was quite simple, but no one took the initiative to do it. The thing is, Heineken allowed me to work on the project, but also Heineken told me that they will finance it, but I have to have proof on how can this be real. Like, they don't want to have numbers, like, this needs to happen. And then I was checking which company in the country are doing sufficient enough, and to pick up the level of plastic that Heineken is producing. And then I had this company called Lavian IT. We work together, and then we find a way that the money we will give them, they can really increase their plant capacity. Actually, increase their plant capacity for 40%, and then with the money they will be able to remove the plastic from the streets. And those plastics, they made flakes out of them. And the laptop I'm using right now made out of this plastic from HP. They have a partnership with HP and Lavian to use plastic from around the world to create computer accessories. So the project that I have in my head was to really do everything myself, but I forgot the power of leveraging. And then this is how, just because I started this, and then the company I was working with asked me for a project, and then after a while, I became removing 3 million pounds of plastic here in Haiti. So for me, that was really, really wonderful. And then how can I make the move from this plastic project as Heineken worker to have my own business? Because I was looking at the looking at the company, and I checked how the company can be more productive. And I saw that there were no procedures in the company, and then there was a lot of safety hazard in the company. Like there was nothing in terms of procedures. And then I told the team that, guys, if you want to work with not only Heineken, like big companies around the world, you guys need procedures. You guys need to have your standards in place. And then they asked me, can you please with me do something for me, because we don't know how to. And then that's how I create another firm to support them. So that's how I keep working for them. But now, because of my firm, we increase the capacity again to 60%. What I'm talking right now, we increase capacity of the company of 60%, and even the workers now are being paid better. Even I think this month they have 25% increase in the salary, just because we are reaching our target every month, and the company is making a break even. So
Right.
I think that part of the process was really hard for me. But
Okay.
I think if you guys use where you are, and then know that where you are, you're there for a reason, and then use it, you will be you get there.
Okay. Sort of,
That's it.
yeah, what I hear there is a lot of challenges, but also navigating through those challenges and just finding a way to turn around the problem into also a solution. Not having a company large enough to collect all those plastics, but also finding a way to work through it to get a proof of concept. That must be amazing.
Exactly.
Any other bottlenecks from the other markets?
Well, so for our end, and just to go off of what Whitney has said, so as you know, as a young person trying to do anything in an emerging market, so the fact that it's a lot of well, there are not a lot of young people trying to do anything, and so you talk with someone, you correspond with someone, some of the contacts we had on email, on phone, and then when they finally meet you, they see you and they're like, oh wow, you are young.
You're younger than I thought.
You're younger than I thought. Are you even done with school yet? You know, and then that now sets the precedent, right? And then back to what Wood was saying, you have we don't really have a budget or funding, but just a concept, an idea, right? And then now the next thing happens is it's a chicken and egg problem where the biggest thing we saw that is so the biggest difference I saw was people don't trust better versions of solutions. They want turnkey solutions. And so, but then you need to have someone to test it so that you are sure that you're not building something that, is not actually solving the problem. But then at the same time, they want something that, is already there, but then you don't have it. And so what do you do, right? And then at the same time, you're still struggling with, how can I convince you to give me a chance, right? And so it got to the point where, and shout out to all this amazing, ideation competitions, to the Lang Center, to the Haverford Innovation Platform, for example, that more or less give you that credibility to begin with, that it kind of kicks you off, right? But then how do you get to that, minimum viable, product, right? How do you now say, okay, if you give me this chance, I won't waste your time, I'll prove this concept, and then we'll do it, right? And so for us, it became, okay, so how do you also work, in an emerging market if you're not there, right? It really is hard to not be there. And so I had to, take time off of school. I took a gap year in 2019. I ended up being in Kenya for around 2 years, including COVID, just to be there and actually do it and actually immerse myself, with utilities, with our team, in a way that, helps us organically build this credibility, just to get over the hurdle that you are very young. Can you actually hold your own? And so that was the biggest challenge, I'd say, that more or less made things take more time than they should have, than it should have taken. And so I feel like we should there's a big shift, and the more more young people do more things. I feel like we could shift that and be able to do more things, because I feel like emerging markets are blank canvas. And back to what I was saying around systems that actually work, we have an entire continent of about 1 billion people, and in the next 10 years, you're going to be more than 2 billion. And still basic services like water, sanitation, healthcare, education, all those things are not universally accessible. And so I feel like we are where Silicon Valley was 30 years ago, but better, because it's a blank canvas and we have the technology. All we need to do is just contextualize it in a way that makes things, or in a way that accelerates all these services. And so that was more or less the biggest challenge for me personally, that made us have to take time off, do things like that. And then the other thing was opportunity cost. So it got to the point now, COVID happens, we are stuck, we can't do much, cash flow has stopped. Back to my parents being like, why did you leave school? Are you gonna lose your scholarship? Why are you here? Why would you leave the US? Why would you work with a utility in the middle of nowhere, And so there's all of those things working against you. And then there are times you're even doubting, you're like, why am I even doing what I'm doing? I could just get a job and just, but then for me, the biggest, right, exactly. But then the biggest thing for me is, we talk about so much about, we saw people that, live on less than $5 a day. These are people, in my family, in my community. And for me, that it's just not numbers, right? I just remind myself, I just go outside, and I just, these are all people, like me, with dreams, aspirations, right? It's just that this environment is not as conducive. And for me, it's just the question, if we can make it a little bit better, right? Because we are so resilient, right? Despite all these challenges. So my question that I like to ask is, what if it was a little bit better? Question mark, so nice. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Call him Philosopher Ken. Food for thought, thank you.
Yeah, to just add on what Ken has said, I also had to take a leave of absence from school for a while, just to be there in the country and to be able to work with people and to immerse myself and get to feel what the people were feeling, so that I could provide solutions that make sense. And also just one thing that I figured out, even after you have all the solutions, all the perfect solution and everything, there's still like infrastructural challenges. For example, we did provide training for the people and they got the digital skills, and we had entrepreneurs who were looking to work with them. And then there's that problem of electricity. We had outage of electricity. It's very common in Kenya that, there is no electricity for like a week. And it was so challenging because we had these entrepreneurs who were excited to work with the people that had gone through our training. And then we had these people who had gained skills from the training and they were ready to work with entrepreneurs. But then when it comes to the part of implementing that connection, they're unable because there is power outage or their internet has issues or things like that. So even when you have almost everything done correctly, we still need the government to be able to provide like stable electricity for the people. We still need people to be able to have access to the internet. We're hoping that we would really help people in rural areas benefit from the services that we provide at Renovate. But it was very challenging because a lot of the people who in rural areas did not have access to stable electricity or stable internet. So it ends up being that the people who really need the solution cannot even access it just because of lack of amenities in their areas that would enable them to be able to access these solutions that we are coming up with. So we also just need like the government to work on providing the amenities that they need to provide for us to be able to come up with these solutions, because we had proven that the solution would work and we had people who are really interested in working with us. But then, the challenges of just being able to connect them just because of issues due to internet connection or electricity. So yeah, even that's one of the problems of working in emerging markets, even when you have the best solution out there.
Yeah, I agree with that actually, and that's what Wumi was saying as well, in terms of it's like some of the basics are some of the most challenging things, right? So as Jolene was saying, electricity, infrastructure, things like that. But then on the flip side of that is also like financial support, getting funded within country, or getting, customers with enough buying power that will actually sustain your business in that way. So I think those are some of the challenges for working in emerging markets, but I think those also turn into the biggest opportunities, because then you're looking at things that are coming out of emerging markets that are just beyond innovative because they're having to sidestep all of these things. You're looking at technologies like Ken's, or like people who are able to leverage partnerships the way Woodme has been able to, or people who are able to rethink funding structures and so on to make it work within that context. So I think it's also this kind of thought where the biggest challenges of working on a startup in an emerging market also becomes the biggest opportunity for innovation. And I think that's why it's so amazing to see all of these different innovations coming out of all of these different emerging markets, because you're actually leapfrogging in a way. You're saying, okay, you want me to, run a computer lab without electricity? Let me figure out a way to do that. And that in itself is creating an even more innovative way forward. So I think that's kind of the exciting part about emerging market entrepreneurship. As Ken said, like it's a huge market of so many young people who are just looking to solve a problem in their own community, who aren't necessarily trying to become entrepreneurs. And that is very exciting. I think the other challenge is kind of what Ken was saying of like beyond just the challenges, beyond just the challenges of working as as a young entrepreneur in any country, there's this extra stigma, I think, in emerging markets where maybe it's more like normalized. For example, I was working in Silicon Valley for a while and elsewhere. It's a little bit more normalized, this like 18-year-old social entrepreneur or serial entrepreneur. It's a little bit more normalized in that context, though it still does require some things, where in emerging markets, I think it's even more so like, we can't take you seriously unless you are much older and have a title and so on and so forth. And I think we've all been in the situation where we were being taken seriously. We were ready to close a deal or ready to close a partner or whatever it was, just based on the merits of what we were discussing or based on the merits of the work we've done, until it came to the point where maybe we had to meet face to face, or somehow our age gets disclosed in some way. And it's in that moment where they're like, oh, I can't continue with this partnership anymore, or I can't go through with this deal anymore, or something like that. So I think there's this extra stigma towards taking young people seriously in emerging markets. And I think that that's a huge shame and something that should be changing, because you're seeing so many young people doing so many interesting and innovative things in a way that they wouldn't have if they waited until after college, after getting a stable job, after getting all of these, extra accreditations and so on. So I think for all of us, we've had a little bit of this experience of maybe fake it till you make it, or like not having to disclose our age. I know that happened to me a lot when I was much younger in fundraising, where I would pretend to be maybe like 5, 6, 7 years older than I was in order to get fundraising and so on. But I know Woodme's laughing because he also knew me at this time. So it's kind of, I think there's also this aspect of it as well. It's like, let your work speak for itself, right? Like your work has its merit, and how can we be taken seriously on that rather than just our age? But yeah.
I used to pretend that I was like a 2 or 3 years old higher than I'm, like, just because I didn't want them to think that I was so young. And then because one of the things, when you're young, they don't value what you're doing unless you can bring something to the table. Yeah. So I was doing 2 things. First of all, I was faking it, like telling that I was higher than I am, and also every time I was meeting somebody, I was referring to what I'm learning or what I'm doing currently at Brana, because I was at Brana. Brana is the company, Heineken company in Haiti. So I was responsible for
extra. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, because I was responsible for everything related to water treatment, CO2, utilities in general, water treatment, CO2, electricity for the company. So all these things. So every time I was talking, even Lamia, when they make joke out of me, for me telling me would be from Brana, because every time I was talking to somebody, I was referring to, I'm with me from Brana doing water treatment, CO2, electricity. so they know, like, I'm not that young,
Yeah, right.
I had to pretend I was a grad student just to get into the door. I saw that is what they were taking seriously. I was like, all right, this is going to get me into a utilities manager's door. All right, I'm gonna do it. I was doing research, so
yeah. And you see that unless you point blank say your age, people will assume that you're older, right? So if I say that I'm a young entrepreneur who's been working on this venture for 10 years, people are going to assume I'm much older than I actually am, because it's a pretty long time, right? So I think it's not until, and I kind of realize this as well, like it's the kind of people who take issue with working with you at your age are the kind of people you probably don't want to be working with, right? Like the kind of people who are going to take the number and make that mean so much more rather than looking at your work ethic, rather than looking at what you've accomplished, rather than looking at those things, then chances are they're probably not the right partner, they're probably not the right co-founder, they're probably not the right person to be working with in and of itself, right? So I think for all of us, we had to prove ourselves through our work.
Yeah, I think I'll maybe refer to a word common with young people, which is gatekeeping, which is what we say when we feel like people of a different generation or people of a certain maybe place that we want to access are preventing us because of age or because of maybe they want to see your impact first. And I remember I experienced this as well, that and also in, you know, a very funny way infused with the issue of infrastructure and government. So for myself, an example is when I was doing MedBit, which was for doctors and patients. So what I needed was a database of all the doctors in the country that are in public hospitals so that I can know where they are and sort of maybe send out a blast email or a blast SMS to them to, you know, have them check out MedBit. And I had to meet with one of the officials of the medical board in Kenya, not one of the officials actually. He was the president of the medical board, currently a minister in the government that is currently in Kenya. So one thing that he told me, which I don't think I can ever forget, is that he cannot smell me yet, which is maybe a metaphor, which is maybe a metaphor to say that my impact is not yet felt anywhere close to his radius. So he said, I go back until when he can smell me, and then I'll be able to get a chance to have a discussion with him about anything. Because at the time I was in my second year of college, and this keeping in mind the fact that I joined college when I was 17 years old. So I was 18 or something at the time. And so to him, that's just, and I'm naturally someone with a tiny body. I digress. So he's like this tiny person, 18 years old. There's no way this guy knows anything about what he's saying. So I had to show him a database of 40 doctors that are already onboarded on the platform. As Woodme had said, you have to refer yourself to something else that you've already done. So I'm like, yeah, I have already spoken to this kind of doctor. Maybe you might know him. I've already talked to this other dentist. You might know him maybe. And then, you know, to see maybe whether he can associate me to a better smell. Yeah. So that is an interesting aspect. But now, having all of that in mind, yeah, you know, the challenges of infrastructure, the challenges of age, you know, money, bootstrapping, and all of that. How then have all of you guys been able to achieve the whatever level of impact, yeah, that Flaxwater has, that Renovate has, that Haiti hands-on has had since I think Lamia started this when she was 11 years of age. I don't know what I was doing at 11, but yeah. So how have you been able to? How do you create impact while also running your social innovation? Anyone who might like to go first? And you know, as they also go on, I think for the rest of the participants, we said earlier, for those who might have joined later, you can ask any questions in the chat as this is ongoing, and then they will answer on the spot. I don't think that'll be that challenging. So the chat facility there, make good use of it.
Okay. So, yeah, so I think I could, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Ken.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, how do you create impact? So for us, really our mission is to, you know, leverage technology to build to build tools that are going to bring about equitable access to basic needs. So starting with water, right? And so for us, it's and how I could summarize our process, it's you cannot manage what you can't measure. You can't measure what you cannot see. And for utilities, the biggest challenge that we saw for them is that they have zero visibility as to, it's like a business. If you are not keeping track of your inventory, now for the utility, it's water, the water that they pipe to you and you pay your water bill, that's their only source of revenue. And so the fact that, they lose more than 55%, the single biggest problem is, number one, they do not have enough cash flows. And so what that means is they do not have enough resources to even give, utilities service workers better equipment. For example, some of the utilities require some of their field workers to use public transportation. On top of that, the fact that they do not even have digital maps of their infrastructure, you have to rely on institutional memory, which is some person who laid down the pipes 20 years ago, who knows that area really well. So a job that would have taken a day, takes a month just because everything is paper-based, right? And so that is real, clean, treatable water just getting lost. And direct consequences of that was, me, us, my family, and other communities, people having to, buy water at exorbitant prices that you cannot, you cannot really be sure of, because it's unscreened and untreated, right? But you have no choice, right? And so the question became, so what do we measure, right? And for the utility, if you can help them more or less ensure that the water gets to wherever it needs to go and have more or less a real-time visibility, then the ripple effect is that they're able to, be able to ensure 24-hour, 7 days a week water access. And as a direct result, it's more water hours for me, for everyone. And as a direct result, less epidemics like cholera. It's 2022, but there's still people dying of cholera. And so for me, the biggest thing is I just want everyone to get water like the way I have it here in Philadelphia, where I can just take 30-minute baths, and not have to think about it, And so, So for me, it's let's accelerate access for equitable quality life for everyone. It doesn't it's not it shouldn't be, you're in the global south, so you're relegated to always, storing your water or going miles to get water. So that's how we measure our impact.
All right. So one thing I wanted to talk about, thank you, Ken. By the way, I love when you're talking about the project, because, I was a former utilities worker, so I know what you're talking about. One of our mission in Zero Loss Consulting is to reduce operational costs by standardizing and structuring Asian companies. And the vision is to enhance industry's performance for sustainable economic growth in Haiti. So usually when we come to a company, we often told them that there's two things making an industry or a company work. It's machine and people, but people first and machine. So usually business owners, like industries owners, they invest a lot of money into machines, but the people part is always the one lacking, and the people part is always the bottleneck of the company. So what we're doing is every time we come to the company, we discuss with with this company and tell them that, okay, you invest so much money in equipment, that's good, but also invest money in structures and standardization. If you standardize, if you have the right structure in your company, and the people have the right knowledge and the functional competencies, you will see an huge increase in your performance. So one of the things that make us proud, to be honest, is the fact that we can increase people's salary in Haiti. Because at the end of the day, when you have people working in a country like Haiti, they don't make money, and the money that they are making is not enough, to make a living. And then sometimes when we talk with the business owner, they also want people to make a living with the money that they are making, but also they can't do this because the operational cost is quite high, and then if they go above it, they don't have company anymore. So we have to put a proper structure, a proper system in place in this company, so that after like 2 months, when they see result, they can increase salary of the workers. And this is one of the things that where we can really measure our impact is how the increase of the salary of this company, how is it done, and if it's increased at which percentage. But if we can do this here in Haiti in those companies, that's how we measure our success. And one of the things as well we do is, I don't know, I don't think it's only Haiti. Many countries, when you have a company, people usually ask young people for 2 years, 3 years of experiences, which it's not, which is not feasible for everyone. So one of the things we did as a business model, we have what we call facilitator, and we have consultant above the facilitator. The consultant are the one making an assessment and having the right strategy for the other business, for the client. However, we don't have yet the strength to pay or to take many consultants, like to work full time in the business. So what we do is we keep the consultant working in the respective industries, but they give us like 2 hours a week, and then these 2 hours we put the facilitator to work directly with them and to execute. The facilitator are executor. So the executors, they are the one implementing the standards and keep track of everything that we're doing. So that part is really interesting, because I think Olivier is in the call. I think Olivier was trying to apply for Heineken company, and then they asked him for years of experience, and it was not. He get rejected, and we took Olivier, and then now I can proudly say that Olivier is the one really running the whole company, the whole recycling company, because he's the one being there every day and make the team work. So that part for me is what is very interesting in my entrepreneurship journey for this consultant firm.
All right. Jolene, Lamia, how have you guys been measuring social impact in the times that you have been running Renovate?
Yeah, so there are different levels of measurements that we are doing, and some that we plan to keep on doing as we move forward. So the first part, as I mentioned, we do provide digital skills training. So there is how many people are enrolling to the training and how many people actually get to complete the training. And we share some feedback forms where they're able to tell us how the process has been like for them. And then there's the second part, like from the people who are able to go through the training, how many of them are able to get digital skills, jobs in the digital economy related to what they learned, either directly through us or through other platforms, because we also share with them how they can use platforms like Upwork or Freelancer to be able to get online job opportunities. So that's the second part. And then another part is how much are they able to earn, and is it more than what they would have earned if they didn't have the digital skills? So that's the next part that we're trying to do, to compare how much they're able to earn from getting digital skills versus if they didn't have that. And then another one is through the entrepreneurs who are going to work with the youth who've gotten these digital skills, how much value are they getting from working with people who have gone through our training? Because if they're getting a lot of value, then they can tell other entrepreneurs to partner with us. So those are some of the things that we're planning to measure, but in the long term, we're just trying to provide more job opportunities for the youth. We know that the unemployment rate is very high in Kenya and a lot of countries in the global south. So if through the digital economy, which is continuously growing, if we could provide a means for the youth to gain the skills and be able to get job opportunities and be able to get money to fund for their needs, then that would be great.
Yeah. For me as well, with Haiti Hands-On as the first venture, so there's different levels to this, and I think like there's the specific things like Haiti Hands-On is a community-owned school, so obviously we're measuring the impact of like education and how have people's learning progressed and how are their understanding of certain topics progressed and so on, and that's kind of more on the micro scales. same with one of my other ventures in Haiti, where I'm working with, basically we created a digital toolbox to support entrepreneurs and help them start their own businesses. Like you can measure the actual impact of, how have their businesses fared, how is their growth and their profit and so on growing. On a more macro level though, I think what I'm looking to measure or haven't measured yet, or what really this social impact would mean for me, is if we're able to shift this mindset and shift the mentality away from needing to depend on foreign aid and like to traditional nonprofit support, and more into empowering actual people who are within these contexts to start their own solutions to their own problems, right? Like the ethos that we're building through Haiti Hands-On or through Digital or through any other venture that I'm working on is essentially that no one is better equipped to find the solution for a problem than the people who are actually facing the reality of that problem themselves, right? So in each of these contexts, it shouldn't have to be that we need to wait on, the MasterCard Foundation or whatever, or foreign organization to come in and fund us or come in and start a project in our communities, but that we are actually agents in our own communities, and that there are plenty of individuals who have these ideas. And I think that that's the most important part of all of this, is the idea and the capacity to actually make this change. So how can we actually shift this mindset away from, okay, there's something wrong in my community, shifting the mindset away from, okay, because of that, I need to wait for an NGO, and shifting it more towards, I am a doer who's able to actually build a sustainable business out of this that will actually solve the community problem, and also help generate income for myself, for my employees, for my community, and so on. So I think for me, this like larger question of impact is, how are we shifting mindsets away from dependency and more towards local agency? And how are we actually able to do that in a way that's then also empowering, right? It's not just about knowing that I live in the global south and therefore I need to wait for someone from the global north, but that I myself, I'm a change agent, and I myself have maybe more innovative ideas that are come out of the creativity that has to come out of like the challenges that I have to face that are unique to my context, that I may be more better contextualized within my context to create something that's more effective, and so on. So it's maybe not as specific of an answer, but I think that that's where this question of measuring impact is maybe on a more systems change level. It's not just like the impact of what we're each doing, but the larger impact of the fact that we are people within our communities that are making this change within our communities and finding ways to do it in innovative and efficient and sustainable ways. I think that that in itself has much larger systems change impact and changes thinking around, even being able to do it, as we said earlier in the call, every single one of us is under 26, and every single one of us has been working on our venture for at least 2 years, right? So that in itself also creates mindset shifts, that young people are empowered, young people from emerging markets are empowered, and young people in emerging markets are capable and able to do this within their own communities and do it in an effective way. So I think that's kind of the larger picture or dream for all 5 of us, if I can speak for everyone there.
Yeah.
And if I could add a quick comment to that, yes, the narrative is very important to change, especially, and if I could just use an example of water, when you think about water in the global south, you think water access, you think, it's a remote part of Africa, there's a drought happening, people are dying. So you think, let's go drill a borehole, and then billions are spent, millions are spent. 2 years, 3 years later, this infrastructure that has been set up is dilapidated. Whereas if we just focused on, how can we ask the people on the ground, the people live in the community, right? They will tell you, hey, I want tap water, not well water, right? And you will find out that, let's go into the actual root problem and not this band-aid solutions. And so that shifts the narrative around, what counts as dignified access as well, because I feel like that is a conversation that is not happening enough, and so yeah. And I think I saw a question here from Lynette. Thank you so much for the question, and amazing work doing wash access in the city, Nairobi. And so just to quickly answer that, yes, so Flux Water created this thing called Map Wash. What Map Wash is literally mapping every single instance of water and sanitation and hygiene infrastructure. Why? Because during COVID, we noticed that since no one really knows where anything is, people would focus on, one place, whereas they would, ignore other equally vulnerable places. And so with WASH, we were able to, partner with people like Shofco, Amref, and we were able to help them track how the daily usage of their WASH stations and some of the utilities as well. And we were able to track hand washes and the amount of water and soap at these stations. And we were able to do like over 20 million hand washes during peak COVID. And so, yeah, we do have footprints around WASH specifically, because the whole point is dignified access to water and sanitation. And so I'd love to chat later about this. So thank you for that.
All right, Ken. Great stuff we're hearing. I'm seeing we are already an hour and I think a few minutes in, and I think I haven't even felt time go by. I feel like it's been 5 minutes of being on this call because all of this is interesting. And it's funny because I've heard about this before from you guys, and I feel like I'm hearing this again. And it's also so interesting. And I'm hoping that's the same case with everyone who's on the call. So if you have a question that you want us to answer, any of us, you can be typing it out so that we check it out as we also head towards the end of this session. So at this point, I think let's bring it back.
We can feel free to also unmute yourself if you have a question that you want to ask live at this point. Like, we'd be happy to do that too. We wanted this to be as natural and conversation style as possible. So we'd love to invite you over to the dinner table and hear from you guys as well.
Yeah, so you can raise your hand or just unmute yourself and request to ask a question. So I think I'll go with my last one so that we allow others also, a couple of people here I know who would want to answer a question, to ask a question. So back to you being young, because this is about young people doing social innovation and entrepreneurship in emerging markets. We've spoken about all the problems that you are facing, infrastructure-wise, access-wise, age-wise, and all of that. Let's talk about yourself. I know that personally, I know that there have been so many times where I wanted to give up, where I asked myself whether I am the one on the wrong, trying the wrong things and not listening. Am I defiant? Am I being a truant because I'm calling off a year of school to go and chase this wild idea in my head, right? So I get to ask myself those questions at 1 a.m. What if I'm wrong? What if in the end it backfires on me so bad and I come back crying like the prodigal son? So how did you fight? Yeah, Ken.
Richard, you say that it's funny because, well, so I had to move back home during COVID. So we were based in Nairobi. I'm from Nakuru. Nakuru is 2.5 hours away. So this is January 2020. We had just finished all our pilots. We were just about to take off, and then COVID happens. Everything is locked down. All the utility folks, they don't use email, so you have to see them, right? They go silent. So we were running out of money. We were bleeding money. I have no money. I'm on a student fellowship funding, right? And the only other option we had was it is what it is, right? I went back home, and so they had turned my old room into a store, so they had to clean it out because I was coming back and I had to stay there for 6 months, Yes, exactly. And then in those moments you're like, oh man, why am I here? Why did I leave? But then again, we don't have water for 5 days. I'm like, okay, yes,
that's right.
So
yeah, because I also
remember that was my personal
experience. Yeah, I remember this time also trying to get Medbit off running, trying to sign up doctors, and we at the point the doctors are like, oh, you're too young. Oh, I've had so many solutions from so many people, and you're not the first one to think about solving this. You're just a student. You just finished high school last year. What do you know about these things? I've been doing this for 20 years. All those problems, and I'm like, let it be. And then the next day, my friend is sick. He needs a doctor to look at his internal organs, and we don't even have an idea of where to get that. I have another friend the next week. He has a wart on his foot and he needs a dermatologist. He's never heard of a dermatologist before. He doesn't even know those are people who exist. So he's like, and then I'm like, the problem is still there regardless of all these challenges I'm going through, all the uncertainty, all the doubt. So how then did you quiet, each of you, how did you quiet these doubts that were coming up, the uncertainties, feeling like you need to stop at this point and get to another thing? How did you keep going, and how did you quiet those doubts? Anyone who chimes in, that'll be good. And then at that point, we can ask anyone who wants to, shoot a question. Feel free to do so.
I think you both just said it. Like, it's extremely personal. At the end of the day, no matter what challenges you're facing, Ken's back home and doesn't have the water. At the end of the day, the funder says no, but your friend still needs a doctor, right? So it's like, I think no matter what, for all of us, knowing you all, like, it's a lot more personal than anything else. I know I had this moment when I think I was 15 and I was firing my first person for the organization. And he was, I think, like 35 or something like that, more than double my age. And I'm standing on this work site in rural Haiti, firing this person, feeling like the weight of like this person's life and his family that he has to feed and like all these things on my shoulders. And I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I responsible for this? And that was for me, one of these moments where I was like, what, like, none of this is like, why am I, how did I end up in this situation? But I think then in the very next day, right, you're seeing that we were still working on building the school at that time. And we saw the next day that his children at the end of the day still needed to go to school, right? And it was the same thing. It's like at the end of the day, you've invested yourself so personally to an issue, and the issue is going to exist no matter what personal challenges you yourself are facing. So it seems almost selfish to stop just because it's an inconvenience for you. I think for all of us, we're doing this because we care about working with people. We care about making something marginally better for the people around it. So whether it's making it marginally harder for ourselves, if that is a sacrifice we have to take to make something marginally better for others, and I think that that's kind of just the trade-in that we all make because the problem still exists at the end of the day, right? So I think you both already answered the question, is like, it's not just a matter of I want to do this because it looks cool. Like, none of us set out to do this because we wanted to be entrepreneurs at all. Actually, we're doing this because we want to solve a challenge that we saw in our own communities. So I think that in itself is the answer, maybe.
Yeah.
One of the things like that I saw, and also that we have in common, is the love for people, like care about people. And while you were asking the question, I have my cousin like coming here. He's also working in Zero Loss in the company. And then I was looking at him because he's graduate from electromechanical, and then he didn't have the chance to have a job. And then every time I look at this guy, and I know like I can't let go, because there's so many people that didn't have the chance to, to be somewhere, to have somewhere to learn some new things. And then if I quit, like, I don't know other like company like doing this kind of thing. Because the good thing about what we're doing is that you don't only learn in one company, you learn from many companies around Haiti. Like, it can be corporate, it can be like a company for recycling, it can be, I even work for a company that do nails, I work for companies that does recycling, I work for IDB, like I work for many um entrepreneurs. And then all my teams, they are learning all those things. And then they, in less, when you ask people for 2 years of experiences, in less than 6 months, they will have 5 years of experiences. So, and then when I take this person, or like my cousin right here, you can go like in another under other company and request for a job. It will probably say that it was working for the last 6 months. It was working for 5 companies, just because I decided to create something. So I can't give up.
Yeah, because if you're quitting, it's like you're quitting on all of these people, and that's what you sort of feel like. Jolene, I don't know if you have anything to share in that regard.
Yeah, I totally relate to everyone. It gets really hard when you're out there trying to do things, and then, so many things are working against you. And for me, things that have worked is just being surrounded by other social entrepreneurs, where you can talk to them and just tell them how hard it is, and they encourage you to keep going. I know I've been through like 2 or 3 accelerator program where I've met other people like me who have ideas that they're working on, and just being surrounded by them. And whenever you want to stop, they just encourage you. And sometimes it's good to like take a break in between to just reassess. But as most of you have said, like, you walk out of your house and you meet people who are unemployed, or you meet people who you have the solution that could really help them, and you really just want to go back and continue. Because when you see the people around, they could benefit from what you have, and you not working on it, prevents them from benefiting from something that could change their lives. So just being there with the community and seeing what impact they could get from just being able to access what you have to offer really pushes you to keep going, because you see the people that you want to help, and just talking to them and seeing how their life changed, like from someone who didn't have an income to being able to have a source of income during COVID period. That's really something that, you know, it helps them a lot. So that has been very helpful. So just having a community of other people that you can talk to can really help.
All right. Thank you very much. And you can connect on the links that have been shared in the chat. And if you have any questions, we'll follow them up as we connect. This has been Catalysing Change Week 2022, Youth Innovation in Emerging Markets, Haiti and Kenya. Thank you for everyone who made time to join. I would be love to follow up more. So have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.